Sally, can I just turn to you? How can we, a lot of people here in industry, how can they help us getting out to the general public? I mean, I was thinking that perhaps one thing that they might do, I mean, there are many things, but perhaps get employees out into schools to be talking about genomics, and that, of course, also helps sort of people doing A-levels to understand that there are jobs in bioinformatics, and oh my goodness me, we're going to need an awful lot of informaticians in the future. But anything else that you feel that people can do?
Well, I think Hello? Yeah, maybe you can hear me. I think we need industry to join the NHS in openness, and open and show that you're open. Many of us know that the best ones are, but how can you show that? Local newspaper articles, visits to schools is great, talking in community groups, anything you can do to help educate people on what the genome is, why we're doing this, the value of data, actually to articulate the fact it is criminal to misuse health data. I mean, it's criminal. But it's only a question of time before people are sent into prison for misusing it. And so the more we can do to open the box so people understand and want to join in and are not scared about this partnership between patients, the public sector and the private sector, the better.
Questions from you? It's very early in the morning for questions. You'll think of them all later. Sir, over there.
Thank you. I understand the comparison with the moonshot and the single event that made it successful was putting the man on the moon. Is there a single event for this 100,000 genomes project that will make us think, yes, now we're successful?
Well, I think for me, the champagne moment at which this really all comes together will be the day that a genomically targeted precision medicine developed through insights through gel, UK patients come through my accelerated access runway, gets rapid approval, and NHS patients are the first in the world to be getting a genomically profiled, stratified or even personalised therapy. And I think at that point we will have proven how all of the bits of this landscape come together for the benefit of patients, NHS and UK economy. And I think we are now, that is within sight. I wouldn't say it's going to happen this year or even next, but at the pace at which we're developing insights and the pace at which this project is starting to spot in the pharmacopoeia today drugs that can be with or minor or no reformulation targeted at particular patients, that faster accelerated approval runway through NICE and NHS England, I think opens up the possibility of us really showing we haven't just done the science, we haven't just done the clinical engagement, the patient recruitment, we've put in place a landscape, a lit runway for accelerating genomic medicines, and that'll change the way this industry works.
John, it's been an extraordinarily difficult challenge so far, but what do you feel would be the moment that you would open up the champagne if Sally wasn't looking, obviously?
Well, I was actually going to throw the question back a bit, because I think the distinction between what we're doing, our moonshot, and the moonshot, is that the moonshot was a great event, and we all felt, at least those of us who are old enough, felt inspired when we saw it and all of that. But our moonshot is going to change the life of everyone. It really has that potential. The way I put it, it changes the experience of humanity. At the moment, we know so little about the reality of disease paths that the majority, in many diseases, of the treatments that we prescribe do not actually work for the specific condition they're prescribed for. What we're about is producing the understanding which will eliminate that. You can, in the 20th 22nd century, I'm very confident that we will look back to medicine today as being very little different from bleeding someone because they had a fever. It is getting to a molecular understanding of what's going on. But more important, in many ways, than simply the issue of the therapies that may develop from that, it is giving a person, every person, a tool to understand their wellness. And having got that tool to understand their wellness, I'm very confident that people will think about themselves in a different way and will live their lives in a different way. Because as we know, a tremendous amount of the illness is a consequence of what people do to themselves. And so enabling, empowering people to really take control of their own wellness will transform the experience of society. And I think that is fundamentally what the moonshot is ultimately about.
Of course, actually, what's interesting is some of the things that we're discovering now that are appearing in people's genomes actually indicate drugs that are already available or treatments that are already available, which had previously not been considered for use in that patient. We heard of, for instance, a high-fat diet for Jessica, which would have reduced her number of fits quite dramatically. And let's take another question. There's one over there.
Hello.
And who are you, sir?
Oh, sorry, my name is Bhupinder. I was Bhupinder Buehler. I'm from Switzerland, and I was formerly with Novartis. I'm also very much in this field of precision medicine, trying to provide solutions for data security, in fact. And my question actually is, thank you very much for the wonderful presentations. And the knowledge database that you are creating will be immensely beneficial for this strategy for patients worldwide. And is there any discussion about sharing this knowledge across different internationally across different countries?
The straightforward answer to that question, of course, is yes. There is a tremendous amount of collaboration, as you know. There are obvious issues of privacy, which in this space we have to be extraordinarily careful about, for the reason that Sally and the Minister understand all too well. If we lose the confidence of the public, and it is the public that have to provide the data upon which we can do this, if we lose the confidence of that public, we'll be set back a generation. So we have to step into this with a degree of caution. Having said that, as you have indicated, there are activities going on around the world, and we have already signed collaborative arrangements with Canada and with Australia, for instance, which will, we hope in due course, enable us to share results obtained in very similar ways. On top of that, there are international communities like ICGC, etc., with whom we're very keen to work on the protocols which will enable us to share results without in any way reneging on our commitment of privacy that we give to patients. So yes, absolutely, but this is an emerging territory, and we will have to step into it with consideration and caution.
George, briefly.
Can I just to add to that, the reason I use the space shot metaphor is that it was a space race at the beginning, and it's become a space collaboration. And it's our belief that the UK and the NHS and the values at the heart of our healthcare system have an important part to play in this, and we are wanting to drive the genomics program forward within those ethical, moral values of the NHS. A health system for all, the collectivization of health assets for the benefit of all, for the prevention of disease for tomorrow. And in January I went to talk to the White House healthcare team about precision medicine, and they wanted to know how we were doing that, what we had plans to do within the system. So I think there's a global message about NHS values at the heart of genomic medicine, which is really important that we export and disseminate. But also, the cracking of the first human genome was an international collaboration. costing billions and taking 13 years. We've now got it down to sequence a genome, John, in 24 hours for a few $1,000s. In a few years, through international collaboration, it'll be pounds, pence in minutes. That's the scale of the technological breakthrough. And there's a huge opportunity for the UK internationally in terms of building a cluster of expertise, exporting and attracting inward investment. So right from day one, we saw this as UK ambitious for UK patients, but in a global cluster. And there are some of the rare disease insights around the world. We want to be collaborating with other countries who have particular rare diseases and using our expertise to help them understand and treat them.
I'm just going to we've got a couple more questions I need to take. There's one over here. And who are you?
Good morning. I'm Jess Buxton, Trustee of Genetics Education Charity Progress Educational Trust. Thank you for the very exciting presentations. I wanted to ask, what's the ultimate ambition for the project in decades to come? Is it that everyone will have their genome sequenced the first time they require some kind of diagnosis or treatment in the NHS? Or is it that actually everyone has their genome sequenced at birth so that preventative medicine can be implemented right from the beginning?
Sir John, or Sally, yes.
Actually, I think it's too early to decide that. I used to think we ought to sequence people at birth and do all our neonatal screening and everything from that, and then keep it for our pharmacogenomics and everything. But my pals in data tell me, actually, the price of sequencing is going to come down so much, it would be much cheaper and safer, possibly long-term, to just sequence when we need it. So I think we've got to recognise that our goal is to have genomic medicine at the fingertips of everyone in the NHS for the benefit of patients, and how we will play that out depends in part on technology and the digitalisation agenda. But what we want is that everyone is genomic literate in the interests of patients.
And of course we don't know what epigenetics may do to someone's genome and whether that, how much this has altered what you've taken at birth. So John, any thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, I can only reiterate exactly what Sally said. Whether you want to store a genome or not will be an issue of how technology develops, but for sure genomic medicine or treatments mediated by genomic knowledge are going to be universal, absolutely universal, because it is, as I said before, so much of medicine at the moment is inappropriate because it's not informed by that. So that will be the path. In other words, there will be a colossal data mine available to every individual, and that will be immediately available to the clinician treating the patient, but actually, as I said also before, to the patient themselves. And their knowledge of themselves will be hugely important in an entirely differently structured health system to the one we know today.
I'm really, really sorry, because actually we could go on for probably at least another half hour, but I'm afraid we haven't got another half hour. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to thank our speakers, but I also just want to say how proud I am to be involved in Genomics England. In all my years of reporting science, actually this is the single most exciting thing that I've ever been involved with. And actually when you tell people about it, and when you tell people about it when you go out of the country, the enthusiasm for this project and the admiration in which, and esteem in which we're held is actually very heartening. So thank you for making it happen.